As we continue to discuss the rights or wrongs about whether benefits will rise in line with inflation, and on the work front, here's some good news. More than 100,000 mental health sufferers will be helped back to work in a £122 million scheme. Today, if you're not aware, is World Mental Health Day. And as part of that, ministers will unveil support for people suffering from depression, anxiety and other issues. Let's get more details then from Conservative MP and Department for Work and Pensions Minister Victoria Prentis, who joins me now. Minister, good morning to you. How will this work in a little more detail?
Good morning to you. Well, this is a England rollout of something that we've been piloting for some time. What happens is that people with common mental health conditions, so anxiety and depression, eating disorders, for example, go to their talking therapies, but in addition, they also have the help of a special employment advisor. So up to around 10 sessions with an employment advisor to help them make that leap back into the workplace or to keep them in work if they're struggling with that. We know it works. We've piloted it really carefully. We've looked very hard at the evidence from that pilot, and we think this is a really good announcement on Mental Health Day.
Where was that pilot, and can you share with us some of the figures that showed it was a success, Minister?
Well, it's been about 40% of the country. So we've been testing this in a large number of areas. What we know is that 68% of people who get this additional help are able to either stay in work or find a job and remain there for 12 months. So that's a significant figure. And we're really pleased that this extra help is targeted at the right people and will help to get people and keep people in work.
You mentioned advisors. What is the sort of advice they give out, Minister?
Well, it's one-to-one coaching. It's very individualised, and they're working with an individual on whatever difficulties they have, whatever confidence they need building, whatever worries they have about the workplace.
So what is their skill set,
And it's not just before
Minister?
work. Sorry?
What is the skill set of the advisors then? What are they trained in? Are they mental health
they're
therapists?
Quite medical. They're mental health specialists who understand the actual mental health issues, but are also specifically employment advisors. So they're there to be specialists in the world of work as well, and the sort of barriers to work that we need to break down.
OK. Just on a related story, it is in the papers today that as regards people who are on benefits, they are to hear that they're going to have their benefits upgraded in line with inflation. Can you confirm that, Minister?
I can't. Much as I'd love to make policy on LBC, there is a process to go through. And we are going through that process at the moment in government. So what happens is we get our wages figures tomorrow. We get the inflation figures on the 19th of October. And then my Secretary of State in the Department for Work and Pensions has a legislative duty to look at both those sets of figures and then makes her decision on how to uprate benefits this year. That has to be communicated around the end of November to get the computer system ready. And then in January, I'll take a piece of legislation through the Houses of Parliament to enable us to uprate people's benefits in April. So it's quite a long process. I completely understand that people are worried about the level of their benefits, particularly this winter. We will come to our decisions and we will communicate them as soon as possible. But it's really important that we stick to the process.
I'll give you a lot of credit for the way you answered that question. No one has ever been as forthright and has put me back in my box as quickly as you did, Minister. So let's move on. Let's move on to other matters. I refer you to the front page of today's Times newspaper. Truss, as in Liz Truss, turns on the charm. Why does she need to do that? Why do you suppose the public haven't been charmed? And do you find her a charming boss, Minister?
Well, I think what is important is that we were elected 3 years ago, nearly 3 years ago,
well,
not
Liz
even
Liz
3
Truss
years
wasn't,
ago.
with respect, but anyway, go on.
Well, she was elected in the wider sense, and she was very much a part of the previous government as well. We were elected to govern the country. And I think, frankly, what the public need at a time of horrible global uncertainty, and I'm as distracted as everybody else by the news from Kyiv this morning, and at a time of very worrying inflation in this country, partly caused by the war. I think what the public deserve is calm and sensible government. And I think it's really important that we stop looking inward in the Conservative Party and we provide that. I see all the signs that we're going to be doing that. I actually think that Liz has set out her vision over the last week. I particularly enjoyed the latter parts of conference when I got a sense of the party coming together. But I think we've got a long term till Christmas. We need to focus as government on providing people with the government they deserve this winter.
How charming is Liz Truss?
Well, I've always found her funny and challenging and entertaining, and she's good to be with. I don't think charm is what we need in a Prime Minister. I think good government is what we need. I am reassured, though, as somebody who traditionally comes from the pro-European and left of the party, if you like, that she attended that Prague summit last week and clearly charmed some of the leaders around around Europe in the wider sense that we need to do. I think she's shown signs that she's really leaning in to the charm where she needs to. But frankly, I would worry less about charm and more about good, sensible decision making.
Last couple of questions, Minister. Your senior colleague Nadim Zahawi says he wants to limit bad migration. What do you understand by bad migration, Minister?
Well, I don't know that I've ever really defined migration as bad or good. Clearly, we want to offer asylum to those that need it. We've got a proud record of that in this country. My mind this morning is very much on the
Did you hear what
Mr.
Zahawi said yesterday? Was there are some people who come to study in the UK who are bringing 5, 6 more people with them. Is that right, said Mr. Zahawi? No. We have to make sure they're coming to legitimately study here. He defines that as bad migration. Do you concur?
Well, I think what's important is that we look at the full range of migration. In my previous role, last time I came to talk to you, we were talking about food and healthy food. Wow. In my old role as Minister of Agriculture. And we desperately need the seasonal agricultural workforce that I think we discussed then. So
yes,
that would definitely be good migration. We need seasonal workers. We welcome seasonal workers. We have a visa system for seasonal workers. So that I definitely describe as useful migration for this country. We also have the asylum seeker. I'm thinking of the girl I've got at home at the moment who comes from Kiev this morning, very much. I've been in touch with her. We're obviously worried about what's going on there. That is good migration. In between, we just have to adjust to what the country needs and, of course, what the global situation is.
Lastly, can I ask you this? Nicola Sturgeon yesterday said she, quotes, detests Tories. Not Tory policies, detest Tories. A couple of weeks ago, a nurse said anyone who voted Conservative at the last election should not be resuscitated. The Labour Party always sell very well with their T-shirt, I'd never kiss a Tory. Do you ever feel detested in any way? And why do people hate Tories? Minister.
I think that's a hard question to answer.
That's why I'm asking. Come on, you got one against me.
I really don't like that sort of language. It's not the way I hope I behave. It's not the way I have brought up my children to behave. I think you should play the policy, not the person. I really, really do believe that. What I've often found locally in Banbury is that people say, well, even if we don't like all your politics, we think that you believe in our area and you're doing your best for our area. And I always take that as a compliment, which it may not be intended as. I mean, not everybody is going to agree politically, but by heck, aren't we lucky in this country that we're able to have disagreements, we're able to have a proper functioning democracy, both within our party, frankly, and more broadly. And I don't see any need for personal insults. I really don't. I think it really demeans the office, if that's all you can say.
Work and Pensions Minister Victoria Prentis, thank you for your time here on LBC. Good luck with that scheme, helping those souls into it, particularly as it is a World Mental Health Awareness Day. The time is 8 o'clock on the nose. Let's get the latest news in the LBC newsroom.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation.